That was easy. I just had to press a button. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Rachel. I'm the volunteer coordinator for those that I have not met in person yet. Thanks for joining. Today is our education on pleasurable dining and mealtime assistance. We've been doing monthly education sessions, whether that's a session like this virtually or just a document I'm sending out just to keep you guys in the loop with long-term care policies and procedures, as well as different things that volunteers participate in. So today is our pleasurable dining, and I have Ron Joy here. Ron Joy is our dietary supervisor at Simcoe Manor in Beaton. He's going to touch base on the pleasurable dining policy, as well as some of the things that we do in the dining room, textures and consistencies, and why we have them the way we have them for a particular residence. Okay, so welcome, Ron Joy.
So program and support service staff, they're going to be present participating on their unit for any meal that is on their shift. So they would be coming in, speaking with the dining room coordinator in regards to which residents require meal service assistance or what they can be able to do to assist in promoting a pleasurable dining experience at that time. So that could be greeting the residents, families, seating the residents according to the posted seating plan that is located in each dining room that looks similar to this. And providing hand hygiene, so using hand sanitizer, asking the residents to perform hand hygiene before meal service as well as after. Providing a clothes protector for the resident, so asking the resident if they'd like a clothes protector during the meal and removing it when they leave. Assisting with the staff in serving the meal, so offering coffee, tea, or entree. They would also, program support staff would also be providing feeding assistance. So they would have some extra training in regards to assisting residents with feeding. Let's see here. So, and going just back to the topic, and the title of this is pleasurable dining. So, creating that pleasurable atmosphere, speaking with the residents, engaging them in conversation or the table in conversation. There could also be for program support services an opportunity to implement nursing rehab strategies. So again, that could be, creating independency by using an assisted device, such as a two-handle cup, those kind of ideas. So we spoke about hand hygiene. At the end of meal service, program support services, if they're at a table assisting residents with that, they would communicate the food and fluid intake to the nursing staff, so that could be documented, as well as any nursing rehab measures that were put in place. For volunteers, again, it's the enhancement of the dining experience. So creating that pleasurable dining, having those conversations with the residents, one-on-one or in a group setting. Providing assistance in regards to hand hygiene prior to entering the dining room, and then again leaving the dining room. Assist with aspects of the meal, so confirm with dining room coordinator. So if I'm a volunteer and I've been assigned to a specific unit, residence home area, I would be checking in to that dining room that's on that home area and seeing who the dining room coordinator is. They may ask you, today we need your assistance of going with a PSW and getting their orders. So showing the iPad and letting the residents know, or perhaps push the beverage cart around and the PSWs would be providing the drinks. Using the seating chart that we had, portering residents to and from the dining room. And again, with the feeding, some volunteers may assist in feeding. They would, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you would receive extra training. So you would, I believe, watch a video, is that correct?
Yeah, I think going forward, so originally, yes, it was a feeding assistance video. I think now going forward with our orientation, I'm going to be a little bit more specific. And if it's a volunteer that is specifically coming in just for meal times, as well as our students, I think we're going to do a little bit more hands-on training. So not only the video, but I think if I know already that that's something they want to participate in or that they're going to participate in, I'm going to give them some tips and tricks during orientation. As well, they need to shadow shifts in the dining room with a PSW, just to, yeah, or PSS, yeah, very true. Just to make sure everyone's comfortable, make sure the volunteers comfortable, and that they're well trained and well versed in assisting with feeding, because it can be an activity with some risk. So we just want to make sure that all our bases are covered and that volunteer is adequately trained. So
yeah, it makes sense, and that's a great idea. So engaging residents conversation. And that's really, I think that's like the meat and potatoes of it sort of deal.
yeah.
Of what program support services. So program support services being staff and being here on a regular basis, and may have some extra credentials per se. They have a little bit more responsibilities. I mean, meal service can be overwhelming. There's a lot of things going on in a very short period of time. So trying to kind of create that pleasant atmosphere, having those conversations that are geared towards the resident, keeping the atmosphere within the dining room a pleasant one. So yeah, that's what we have. Checking in with this on unit, if there are any concerns or issues at the table, is speaking with the unit RPM. So never hesitate to call them over or to leave the resident in the table and speaking to the nursing staff. We spoke about hand hygiene. Not only is hand hygiene important pre and post meal service for the resident, it's also important for us. So, we want to make sure that we're performing hand hygiene before we do that as well. There was a request in regards to why some residents are on a modified texture and some reasoning behind that. So we have residents that may be on a modified texture, such as Minster puree. So why and what that may look like. So what the why part of it is a lot. So, it's part of the dysphagia, and that has to do with the part of the mouth in regards to from here down, and there could be numerous reasons. It could be mechanical in regards that we just don't have the muscle power. It could be neurological, where we have the muscle power and we know what to do with it. However, neurologically, we don't, and food may just sit in the mouth. So it could be also, I guess, physically in regards to maybe not having teeth, or, dentures not fitting properly, numerous reasons. We want to make sure the resident is safe and they're getting enough nutrients. So instead of going to a G tube or a PEG tube in regards to where that is put into your stomach or into your esophagus area and going down into your stomach, they're eating it through their mouth. So we have minced. Minced texture is something about the size of a grain of rice. So we'll take a regular chicken breast, cook it off as we normally would, put it in a food processor, and then following the chart that we have, then it would become minced, and then we have that. So then we have puree texture. So puree texture is the consistency of pudding, mousse, applesauce, okay? It is, there's no lumps, bumps, or any of that. The food is being dissolved, okay? We want to make sure that if we are assisting someone with eating and they are on any kind of diet, especially if the modified texture diet, that we want to do one sip, one spoonful at a time. So having that, spoon with the food in it, in their mouth, encouraging them, cueing them, okay, now you chew, swallow, and then clear their mouth before we give them another one, okay? That's something important there. That's the food texture part of it, where we have those different textures. We also have that in a form of a liquid. So those consistencies would be viscosity levels. So we'd have regular, and then we'd have nectar, honey, and pudding. Okay, why do we have those? You may have encountered someone that has a thickened fluid, but they're regular texture food. Again, that why is so big. It's massive. Again, anyone that's on a modified texture or a modified thickened fluid, we will always want to be mindful of that when we are assisting them with that we feel comfortable enough if it's one spoon. So we're using a teaspoon with the fluid and giving it to the resident via that, or a straw to sip slowly, or they may be using an assistive device such as a cup, or maybe nothing at all in regards to assistive device, and it's just a normal cup, glass, or mug. We want to make sure that they're taking it slowly. Again, clearing the pathway before we give them another sip.
Great.
Anything else I can say about?
One of the questions when the volunteers need to let the staff know how much was consumed, what is the scale like, Ronjoy?
Yeah, so good question. So in regards to the fluid part, it'd be 1 cup. So, resident A consumed 1 cup of milk, half a cup of water, and a full cup of apple juice. At lunchtime, resident had grilled cheese sandwich with tomato slices and tossed salad. They ate 45%. So food-wise would be the amount in regards to percentage. So eating all of it, 100%, and going down from there. Fluid, it's by the cup.
So the scale for you guys, it's very specific, where I know some homes they do 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 75 to 100. You guys write down the exact percentage typically?
I think, well, it's still like if I'm a volunteer, right? I say, oh, they ate about 35%. Okay, appreciate it. I think behind the scenes, the nursing staff should then just do that, right? So then they ate 25 to 50%, right?
Yeah. Okay. Joan, is Caitlin there to take you off mute if you have any questions? She's not there. Okay. Sorry, Joan. If you have I don't know. You can't, you know how to type, Joan? No, okay. She left you on your own. Poor thing. That's okay. If you have other questions later on, we can chat. I'm trying to think if there would be anything else. I think the main point here is if the volunteers are helping in the dining room, that they need to be more so directed by the staff. If the staff need to go get the meal for you and make sure it is the correct consistency. We can't really assume, even though you might be there every day, you see the same residents every day, textures change sometimes by meal. You might have helped them with breakfast and they were regular consistency, and then by dinner they might have had an incident or something like that and they're now a different consistency. So we have to be very careful with those sort of things and not assuming, well, I know John and he is thick and fluid, something like that. We just have to make sure that we're taking guidance from the staff and their plan of care, right? Just to be on the safe side for you and for the resident, of course. Yeah, is there anything else that you can think of, Ron Joy?
No, I think you said it exactly. That is that when we do check in and we're on our assigned unit, we're checking into the dining room, we may even pass the RPN. They may be doing med pass outside and just saying, hey, I'm here. How are you today? Oh, I'm good. Please go talk to Joan. She's the dining room coordinator. Kind of taking those cues. We're here to assist and taking the guidance and direction from the nursing staff.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ron Joy. I'm just going to show the video.
If a resident does not eat over 50% of their meal, it's important to start providing some sort of assistance. You can provide, first off, with verbal cueing. Some residents need a reminder of the food that's placed in front of them or a reminder to take another bite throughout the meal.
Often, persons with dementia need to be reminded to pick up their utensil and take a bite, even when preferred foods and fluids are placed in front of them. Placement of items within easy reach, combined with a verbal reminder or prompt, such as, "Would you like a drink?" may be all that is needed for someone to initiate drinking or eating on their own.
Cueing is very helpful. There are residents that are still able to feed themselves, but they just need reminders about how to do that. So it doesn't have to be blatant as, "Mr. Smith, please take another bite," but you can ask him how the food is. How did the broccoli taste? How did the chicken taste? And that helps reorient residents to the meal that's in front of them. And they'll want to find out how does that chicken taste? Well, let's take a bite.
Physical guidance is a way of assisting someone while still encouraging independence. Helping someone hold the food and bring a bite to their mouth is an example of this technique.
Some residents may need physical assistance because they're unable to bring the food to their mouth or be able to determine where the food is located on their plate. So examples of physical assistance would be hand-over-hand assistance. That is a great way to start to keep the resident involved in the activity by placing your hand over theirs and doing the same motions as if they were eating themselves. That also helps orient the resident that food's coming to their mouth. Some residents are unable to be able to do hand-over-hand assistance, and by providing full assistance for them, they may be receptive to eating as well.
Those who may not otherwise appear responsive may still eat when prompted by a gentle stroke of the cheek or touching their lips with food.
We have one resident, I noticed that she wasn't eating all her food. You know, she needs a little cueing. So I went over there, I chopped up her biscuit, and I put a little piece of her biscuit on her fork, and I gave it to her. And she was able to finish her meal without any problems. So just taking that extra step and cueing them and, you know, making sure that they're doing all right and they're feeling good.
It is common for older adults to become easily distracted or even fall asleep during mealtime. For this reason, it is important for a trained caregiver to be seated at the table to keep everyone focused on eating.
Using 5 minutes of assistance is a good approach to see whether the resident is going to be receptive to that assistance. And if they are, continue providing assistance throughout the meal as needed.
Mealtime assistance can be made more efficient by seating residents together who require staff attention. We have found that one trained caregiver can effectively provide good quality assistance for up to 3 residents who are seated together. On average, this requires 45 minutes of caregiver time per meal. Social interaction during mealtime encourages most people to eat and drink more, including older adults with dementia. Older adults with dementia should be encouraged to share at least 2 of their daily meals with other people, rather than dining alone in their rooms, to encourage food and fluid intake.
Even with all these techniques, some residents may still not want to eat during meals. It may be helpful to create a snack plan. In between meals or throughout the day, it might be helpful to provide residents with supplements or to create high caloric snacks that they may enjoy. It's good to focus on what the resident really enjoys during that time. If a resident likes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, make that 2 or 3 times a day for the resident. Or provide different choices of what their favorite meals or snacks are.
If a resident receives staff attention during meals but still doesn't eat and drink an adequate amount, offer a variety of snack items 2 to 3 times per day between meals.
During snack time, what we found to be helpful is to provide a variety of drinks, such as juices and milk. And for residents to eat, we also provide snacks that they enjoy. We usually have a range of chips, pretzels, fruit, and cakes.
It's better for these items to be calorie dense rather than focusing on healthy choices.
Some residents may need assistance, just as they did during meal times, and some residents may be able to eat the snacks independently.
Just as with meals, it's important for caregivers to encourage residents to consume snacks between meals. This typically requires an average of 10 to 15 minutes per resident per snack offer.
Snack time in a community may take up to 45 minutes to complete.
Right. So maybe just keep in mind, so this video is American. So they did make a statement that said 1 person per 3 residents. We're 1 person per 2. So I'm sure you know that, Joan, that we sit in between 2 that we can assist or prompt, and that the best form is to sit down, and we don't feed people when we're standing up. It's just more relaxed, and that's the pleasurable dining experience. We're sitting with them during the meal instead of standing over them and making it quick, like we're trying to rush them out of the dining room, right? So yeah, it's only 2 people that we can assist per time, and then you can move on if needed. So the next one is tips and tricks for hand over hand, hand under hand.
When to use each one and how you kind of make those decisions. The 3 techniques are overhand, underhand, and direct hand. And you want to start off with the least amount of assistance that you need to provide and save direct hand, which is what we see most often in practice, for our most dependent of residents. So let's say we have a person who's pretty much able to feed themselves, that they have skill finger ability, and they just need a little help getting the food from the plate to their mouth. We'd start by offering overhand assistance, which is when I place my hand over the person's and gently guide their hand with the utensil towards their mouth. Be careful when you're doing this to make sure that you don't hurt their wrist or grab their hand too tight. And always help them through the middle of their body. Think about how you eat, and rarely do you feed yourself from the side to get food into your mouth if the plate's in front of you. The underhand technique seems to work the best for someone who's lost skill finger ability, or they don't seem to understand what to do with their utensils. At this point, we can use the underhand technique, and we start by getting into the underhand shake position. What this frees up for me are my skill fingers, and that's the part that I'm going to do for them. This technique provides a new additional cue, a motor cue, so that we're really maximizing the cues that we're providing with this technique. One of the first modifications we can do with the underhand technique is if the person only has partial range of motion. In this case, we need to load the fork or the spoon for them because that's the part that they can no longer do. So if a person has very little range of motion, you may need to put their food item into a different container and get very close to them so that they don't have to move as far to participate in the act of eating. So even with very limited range of motion, the underhand still provides the cues that might help them to understand that it's time to eat. The third technique is direct hand. And you want to save this hand feeding technique for people who basically aren't able to participate in the act of eating, but you still need to remember the cues of putting your hand on their shoulder, because remember, they've lost peripheral vision and they may not see you sitting there. And even with this one, you need to make sure that they see the food before it comes towards their mouth. So even lifting it up into their visual field might help them to know that food is coming and open their mouth so that the meal goes quicker. Thank you for taking the time today to watch this video and learn about the different hand feeding techniques and how and when you can use each one. I hope that you'll share them widely with your family and friends, and as long as we're making sure that people are eating in a safe way, anyone can use these hand feeding techniques to help another person to eat. The 3 different hand feeding techniques.
We were taught some of those techniques before, and I found them so helpful, especially the handshake one where you're actually taking control of the spoon, but you still have their hand with yours, and the motion of just bringing it to their mouth was so helpful. They felt like they're being part of the process, right? We still want to make sure we're giving them that respect and dignity and independence during mealtime, even though they still require some assistance. We want them to be in control as much as we can. And not forgetting to personal choice and options. That's huge. Again, I think sometimes we get so comfortable and aware of our residents, and we're just assuming, oh, I know they like chocolate instead of vanilla. Oh, I know that strawberry is their favorite. I feel like if we still have to give them choice and option, right? Maybe they don't want chocolate every day. Maybe they don't want the strawberry every day. It's good to mix it up, give them the options. It is their home after all, and we have to be sure to be compliant with all of those expectations, right? I can see you're on mute again, Joan, so I won't ask you if you have any more questions, but that was kind of today's seminar, and I look forward to the next one. The next one is in December, and it's on behavior supports, which is super helpful. We'll get some tips and tricks on how to deal with residents that have dementia, maybe some responsive behaviors, and I look forward to seeing you then, okay? Thanks so much, Joan and everybody. We'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.